Hello, and welcome back for another adventure in the cookie jar. Today we're doing the 4th and 5th recipes from the Devil's Food Cake Murder. They are the Red Devil's Food Cake and the Fudgy Frosting. So it is quite a bit for one recipe. You are going to preheat your oven to 350. You are going to want, for the cake portion, you're going to want 1 cup of water, 3/4 cup, 1.5 sticks of salted butter, half a cup of brown sugar, half a cup of white sugar, 1 ounce square unsweetened chocolate, 1 teaspoon of instant espresso coffee powder, 1.5 cups of white sugar, half a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, half a cup of unsweetened cocoa powder, 2 eggs, room temperature, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and 3 cups of cake flour. If you don't have cake flour, you can use 2 2/3 cup all-purpose flour. Your cake won't be as light in texture, but it's not necessarily a bad thing when it comes to chocolate cake. So you're going to make your cake, and then you're going to put it in 2 9-inch round cake pans. You're going to spray them with baking flour spray, and then it says to line the bottom with parchment. The first note, this cake is easy to make with an electric stand mixer, but you can also do it by hand. It does give a note for mini cupcakes, just to line a muffin tin with mini cupcakes with little things, 3/4 full of batter, 350 for 15 minutes. I'm confused. So in the beginning of the recipe, it says to preheat the oven to 350. When it actually comes time to put them in the oven, it says to bake at 325. I'm not quite, it doesn't say anything about turning the oven down. The muffins bake at 350. I guess I'm going to preheat the oven to 325 instead, and then just maybe it'll take longer to bake. I'm not quite sure. As for the fudgy frosting, it says, when you're ready to frost your Red Devil's Food Cake, turn 1 layer upside down on a cake plate so that the flat side is up. If it's too tippy that way, put it back in the pan and use a sharp knife to level off the top of the layer before you invert it onto the plate the second time. Use fudgy frosting between the layers. Position the second cake layer rounded side up on top of the frosting on the first layer. Now frost the top and sides of your cake. Your masterpiece is complete. Be generous with the frosting, it's yummy. This cake will serve at least 12 people. It's perfect paired with vanilla or coffee ice cream. Mother likes this cake with chocolate ice cream, but that's Mother. She convinced Dad to walk 3 blocks in a snowstorm when the car wouldn't start, and she ran out of chocolate ice cream. Now the fudgy frosting, you're going to want 2 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, a 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk, 1 ounce, 2 tablespoons of salted butter, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. It says a note, if you use a double boiler for this frosting, it's foolproof. You can also make it in a heavy saucepan over low to medium heat on the stovetop, but you'll have to stir it constantly with a wooden spoon or a heat-resistant spatula to keep it from scorching. And that being said, everything's laid out. Let's get started. This is everything we're going to need for this recipe. So this is a lot more steps than I thought it was going to be. So what we're actually doing first is we're taking the water, the butter, the white sugar, the brown sugar, a small saucepan. To this, we're going to add broken up ounce of chocolate. And I guess we're just going to melt that under medium-high heat. And we're just melting this until the butter melts. You would think it'd be until the chocolate's melted, but okay, I think that is the butter and the chocolate all melted. So I'm just going to move this over, turn off the burner, add our instant espresso powder. Espresso. It does not want to stir in. Now we let that sit. And we come over to our mixer. Once you have your 9-inch pans, set them up with their parchment and their spray. 1.5 cups of white sugar. It says add about 1/3 of this to the bowl. Oh. add half a teaspoon of salt. Is that all the salt? I don't like how they're writing this recipe. I keep having to go back and forth and check the measurements. So all of the salt, all of the baking soda, all of the baking powder. I'm just gonna give that a quick little stir with my whisk. Now, add the second third of the sugar. I'm not quite sure why we're slowly whisking this together. Once you feel you've got that mixed, add the last bit of sugar, and again, mix it. All right, cocoa powder in next. It does say mix it on low because you don't want it all over the kitchen. I think I'm just gonna keep doing this part by hand. It says with the mixture on low, add the eggs one at a time. So there's egg one, the vanilla. So this is done until your eggs are cool enough. Basically, you're waiting for it to cool off enough that it's not going to cook your eggs, which this is still really hot. Honestly, this could probably take another 5 minutes to cool off enough to add it in. This is our coffee and chocolate. So it looks like you're going to pour in half of this slowly while mixing it, and then you're going to mix half of your flour, the rest of this, and the rest of the flour. So that's not complicated. And then we're gonna add the rest of this coffee mixture. And the last half of the flour. It says to let it run for a minute on medium. I don't really get where the red's supposed to be coming in because it's really just brown. It's chocolate. Evenly divided. Just gonna try to pop out some air bubbles. Now they're gonna go in the oven for 20 to 25 minutes. Theirs said they took 22, but I am slightly thinking it's gonna take longer because the book, beginning of the recipe, it said 350. In the recipe, it says 325. So we'll give them the 20 minutes and we'll see where they're at. So while the cake finishes up in the oven, I'm gonna throw together the fudgy frosting. We have a double boiler. Water is not quite boiling, but it's getting ready to start. 2 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips. The salt. And we're just going to melt those together. I'm going to turn this down now that the water is boiling. And we're just going to stir those every once in a while until they're melted. Now call me crazy, but this does not seem like it's gonna make enough icing to ice an entire 2-layer cake generously, like it says. Just saying. When you reach the smooth chocolate stage, we are drizzling in the condensed milk and cooking that for 2 minutes. Stirring constantly until it is shiny and spreadable consistency. All right, so we're gonna pull it off the heat now. And it says to quickly stir in the vanilla, then add the butter. Vanilla is in, now goes the butter. And stir it in until it melts. This is the fudgy frosting. Now we just have to wait for our cake to cool. Okay, we are back. It's a couple hours later. They finished in the oven and then I popped them in the fridge. Just going to put one down, pull off the paper. And have these baked in the exact same pan and are 2 different angles? I'm not sure, but anyway. Here it is. Okay, so the fudge is nice, it's glossy. Once it sets up in the fridge, I'm sure it'll be mwah. The cake is moist looking. I don't think it made enough icing. If it's just been a little bit more, so I could have had more of the icing in the center, I think that would have been nice. As it is, I feel like the coffee flavor was stronger in the batter. Oh, there it is, on the tail end. It's super rich. A glass of milk would go amazing with this. It's good. I don't get the red. It's essentially a chocolate cake with chocolate icing. It's a very, very good chocolate cake with chocolate icing. I think it would go really great with a tall glass of cold milk. But they didn't, for a cake with baking, cooling, icing time, I don't feel like it took too long. I did it in an afternoon. It was a lot of dishes, but overall it's very, very good. It did take longer to cook. I think it ended up taking closer to 45 minutes to bake. Next week we are moving on to a mini mac cookie. I believe it's because they're mini macaroons. If you're interested in seeing that, join us next week. I hope you'll have a good one. Bye.